and here's what it's related to. And in my experience, a lot of that for me, it's not for everybody, but for me, I've seen a lot of that coming down to finances. If you put yourself in a hole too early, too much, too fast, just trying to get out of that, you sort of lock yourself into, maybe you have to work that desk job at Google that you don't like anymore, but you have to stay there because it's paying the bills. You can't afford to leave it, go get education in a trade and do something else that you kind of want to do. Or, I've always wanted to work on airplanes, but I can't do it because I got bills to pay. So I got to stay at Google or whatever it is. And if you lose that freedom, it really affects your mental health because you sort of feel trapped. Like, okay, I'm stuck with this. And no disrespect to anybody who works at Google or has a job like that. Many people do it and they enjoy it. But there are some people out there that have no other choice. They need that paycheck. And then it gets into this spiral that they're not sure.
I would say Google is a great company to actually work for because I've seen their offices, great buffets and lunches and all this. But I would say you're more talking about like you being just stuck in a job, whether or not you like it. Maybe not as rewarding as some of the best companies out there, but just not being able to be creative outside of it because you're so confined to the amount of time you have in the day and you're so stressed out about these bills. And living in the Bay Area, I mean, the bills keep coming, right? It's not a joke. All right, let's stick to the podcast. And I appreciate you sharing with everyone that's listening why you started it. It seems like mental health is big, finances. We definitely didn't learn. I would say physical health when we were younger was a more prominent or important thing in PE versus today. So I think we
can get into that one too.
The youth kind of lost what physical health is. And if you look at pictures like in the 50s compared to today, people were in shape. And now it's like,
well, we used to go out and play as kids. It used to be go out, ride your bike. You and your buddies would meet up at the local playground. You'd fall, scratch yourself up on the tan bark and you'd keep running around, have fun. And nowadays, for better or for worse, we have this technology, these cell phones.
And now it's on your face. Remember, like Elon Musk said, my mom used to tell me not to sit close to the TV. How the TV's on your eyes.
There. Yeah, that's
it's insane. All right. So what are some of the challenges you face starting your podcast? You mentioned earlier that getting on TV was a big one, and for me as well, or being out in the space. But what are some of the challenges?
That's the big one at first, is that stage fright. That first step that you're putting yourself out there in the public view. You don't know if people are going to listen, if they care. You don't know if you're going to offend somebody, which to me, the more honest you are about what you believe in, you're going to have your fair share of people that don't like you. That's actually a good thing, because in order for people to really care about what you believe in, you're going to have the haters that come out and say, no. I'd rather have that than people who are indifferent, who just don't care either way. Because that means I'm not doing something right. But
you're not either tickling this fancy or that fancy, or not getting their attention the right way.
Now there's a wrong way to do it. If you want to get really extreme and have these really extreme views, whether it's politics or race or whatnot, then that's a whole different topic. That means I can't accuse anybody of doing this, but maybe you're doing that because you know it's going to get you the most likes, the most clicks. That's a whole separate thing. But for me, it's you have to be willing to put yourself out there and give people the good information. Some people aren't going to like it. Some people don't care about it. But there's going to be people who are like, you know what? That's exactly the question I've been wanting to ask, and I had no clue who to ask. So it's either just to throw my hands up and say whatever.
I find marketing to be marketing, but one thing, and there's negative, like you could get negative attention by calling people names out there and they'll respond, or positive, et cetera. But at the end of the day, it's consistency, right? The people that keep doing the same thing over and over, they keep getting attention. How do you juggle? Like, I've done this podcast, the editing, and this is not my day job. I would say it's not your day job either. As mentioned earlier, you're in the police force. How the hell do you juggle editing, scheduling, getting people on the show, listening to them? Like, how do you do this and still maintain a job? For me, that's inspiring. And I think that should inspire other people, because this goes back to what you said. You feel stuck in your job because you got to pay your bills. I'm not saying that's you, but you do have a 9-to-5 job in most cases, or sometimes even more. But you pivoted and you created something that you could take with you in the future and so forth. How do you find time to do that? What motivates you to do that?
I don't know where the time comes from, because if anybody's familiar with the environment now for law enforcement, it is extremely challenging.
Very.
Every department is severely understaffed. My department is no exception. We have to work a lot of hours because there's just nobody else to work. So it definitely messes with your sleep schedule, but things have to get done. And I'm definitely very happy to do that, because you want to be part of a team and you guys are working together to try and get new people on and get them trained up, so it makes everybody's life easier. But it is a challenge just finding time from that. But probably one of the things that make it easier for me is I don't have children. So that's a big time restraint.
A big one. I got 3. Trust me, it's not easy, but that for sure is helping you. But still, even so,
It's that. It's also, balancing relationships, balancing family. It is a lot, and trying to find that happy balance, it can be challenging sometimes.
Okay.
But so what I figure that works for me is, as much as I enjoy doing this, each episode takes me probably about 10 hours total. When you factor
you guys
in,
hear that? 10 hours for an episode.
When you factor in the recording, the setting up, the editing, the making the reels, the thumbnail,
scheduling,
the schedule, all that too, it's about 10 hours per episode.
Canceling or moving or whatever.
That happens. You get everything set up, and then somebody calls right away and says, "Hey, I can't make it anymore." Or I have one guest, I won't say their name. They confirmed, and then I have everything set up. They don't show up, and I ask them where they're at, and they say, "Oh, are you in Seattle or are you in San Francisco?"
Oh my gosh.
They were in Los Angeles at the time. And for them, they totally dropped the ball. So needless to say, I haven't called them back for the show. That is a lot to deal with. And then in order for me to give each episode its due credit, it's about 10 hours, which means I can only do about 2 per month. So 2 episodes per month is 20 hours of my own time.
Wow.
On top of
your
my
job,
work schedule, and on top of relationships, for my wife. So it's a lot. Yeah. So the way that I see it is, if I'm never going to have children, and that's by choice, we just decided that that's not the thing that we want to do. We can get into economics in the Bay Area and a whole bunch of other stuff. But for us,
you and I could have a real political discussion. That I don't think it's the time for this podcast, but like, the Bay Area is such a different, unique climate of everything that goes on melted into this soup of just trouble and wealth and you name it.
It's a lot.
And having to have 2 jobs. It's almost like you're forced. You're not the only person, and I'm sure I'm not the only person that's doing 2-3 different things just to try to get a level higher, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of us out there, especially in the Bay Area. You go to other states and they're just relaxing. They're enjoying their life more.
It's different.
We are here working to live.
But going back to
living to work, I don't know which one.
Going back to what I was saying is that in lieu of having children, I think we all need to find that one thing that we can give back to help others. And for some people, and I give them due credit because I know a lot of great parents out there, that is raising their kids to be the next productive members of society. And they will put all their time and effort, which is great because we need great parents out there. For me, in lieu of doing that, how can I give the same type of energy back to people who are already here who need that? And that's sort of the way I think about it. So in lieu of having my own kids,
inspiration.
Exactly. And
so it's not the kids that you would pass it down until you have the kids, maybe, and they could take over.
It's more for how can I help out everybody else who's trying to find these answers and trying to make their lives better. Because if I can help to give them the information to make their lives better, if they decide to have kids or currently have kids, that gives them more information to make those kids better, and the cycle repeats itself.
Let me ask you, I mentioned earlier in the podcast that the reason I started it is because I was looking for answers as well at an age, and I was like, YouTube was one big motivator, Instagram. What did you look for when you were growing up as a motivation? Like nowadays, if you want a mentor, and you could literally find the mentor and beg him on Instagram or whatever to be your mentor. I'm not saying he'll do it, but how did you get motivated, or how did you understand the process when you were younger? And did that influence your podcast?
It's sort of. If I go back till maybe 18 to 20 years old, that really tough time for a lot of guys that age, you really needed an older brother figure. And I didn't have an older blood brother, but I did have an older cousin. He's about 18 years older than me. So at 18, he's 36.
Okay. So he's been through stuff.
He has a great job, made a lot of money, definitely very charismatic. You look at someone like that at 18 and you're saying, whatever he's doing, I want to do that because at least from what I can tell, he's getting the results that I think I want.
I see.
He takes care of himself. He's getting attention from the women. He makes a lot of money. He's traveling. He just bought like a couple of houses. And this is before '07 when everything just tanked.
Yeah.
And he got caught up in that.
Time.
It was a tough time. But like, okay, what is he doing that I need to do? And it forced me to, and this also happened with several other people that I met during that same time frame, is what are they doing that I'm not? I think I know what the correct answer is because it looks like it is if you read the books, but it's not working. So I had to really humble myself and say, I'm going to forget everything that I think I know is right. What are these guys doing that I'm not? And I really started to learn how to people watch. I learned how to read body language. I learned how to, although some people say I'm a horrible communicator, I learned to pick up on.
Podcast that someone says that.
That's
funny.
It's hard to believe that.
That's kind of funny, right? It's just like,
but I started picking up on.
Who are those people? Where are they?
I started picking up on what people say and what they really mean. I started to figure out, okay, what are the successful people doing that I'm not doing? Where did they start out from? And I really got focused from probably the age of 20 till about 26 or so to say, this is the time of my life where I need to just focus on getting all these things right. I can't get caught up as easy as it is with, dating too many women, trying to buy that expensive car because I'm trying to keep up with the Joneses, which for us was, we had MySpace at that time.
Yeah, I remember MySpace.
It was just trying to keep up with the people that were putting all these cool pictures up. You really had to take a step back from that and say, there's a lot of work that I have to do and it's going to take me a long time. And I just got to take one step at a time. So thankfully, I didn't get caught up in anything that was, for me, a major
blow.
Yeah, financial. I didn't buy a house at 19 thinking that I'm supposed to do it and then get caught up in a mortgage that I can't afford. I didn't buy an expensive car. I drove a 1997 Honda Accord for a long time. I stayed out of trouble.
Which is a big one for kids growing up in the city.
It is a big one.
Yeah, it's not a joke.
It is. It's not a joke at all. Yeah. But seeing that